Welcome, everyone. I'm meschian, and I love giving public presentations. One of the reasons is because I learn a lot about the ideas that I'm going to be talking about. You see, when preparing for the public presentation, I have to organize my ideas. And in doing so, I find the gaps in my knowledge, which I then fill in to give the talk. Then, during the presentation, audience members will often ask me questions that I haven't really thought about, making me further investigate these ideas. So every time I've given a presentation, I knew more about that information at the end than I did at the beginning. The second reason, the most important reason why I love giving public talks, is because I get to meet people like you. Thank you all so much for coming here today. I'm not a professional public speaker. I've had no formal training in this domain. I am a dog, apparently. No, I'm a programmer. I'm a software engineer. I've been developing software for many years, and it turns out software engineering is incredibly difficult. Not only is the code that we're working on very complicated, but also the technologies are changing all the time. New programming languages, databases, libraries, and frameworks are coming out all the time. And so as engineers, we have to be constantly learning to not fall behind, right? But I like this process. I like learning new stuff. I love learning new technologies and playing with them. And you know what? I love talking about them. I love telling other people about this new cool stuff that I learned. So what did I do? I started organizing small meetups where I would talk about these new things that I learned to other engineers and colleagues. And that was a lot of fun. That grew into something like this. So in 2014, I organized a series of talks on web development. And lots of people came. To my surprise, I didn't know there were so many geeks in Armenia, but apparently we're taking over. That was very successful, and I had a great time. And that motivated me to do more talks. I spoke in conferences, I spoke in schools and universities. I also taught at the American University. I lectured for 3 years at the American University. One of the best things I've done in my life. By the way, I noticed some of my previous students are here. Thank you so much for coming. So what I like to do is share with you some of the things that I learned along the way from these past experiences. So the first thing that always comes up when we talk about public speaking is nervousness. A lot of people have great ideas, but they're nervous. They're worried about getting on stage. I want to tell you this is completely normal. I am a nervous wreck right now. I'm terrified. It's normal. It's part of the process. But there are things you can do to manage your stress. There are things you can do to decrease your stress. So what can you do? Well, there are certain psychological tricks that you can try, such as forcing yourself to smile. Because you see, we all know that you smile when you're happy, right? Sure. But it works the other way around as well. When you force yourself to smile, often you feel happier. So that's one of the ways you can sort of calm your way down. But I'll tell you this, the most important thing you can do to lower your stress, the most important single thing is to be ready. When you put the right amount of time into preparing your talk, when you've practiced, you've prepared everything, you've done the appropriate research, you get up there and you have confidence. You're not acting confident, you are confident because you put in the appropriate time. So, you want to feel a little bit better on stage? Prepare for your talk. Put in the time. Public speaking is a skill. It's not something you're born with. It's something that has to be developed over many years of practice and doing. Like any skill, it's important that you practice correctly. Because you see, like any skill, if you practice it incorrectly, you'll be very good at doing something wrong. So, my goal here today is to share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way so that you'll know what to focus on moving forward. There is one important rule. One, everything that I talk about throughout this entire presentation is in support of this one single rule. Respect your audience. Respect their time. Understand that every member of your audience has taken time away from their families, from their work, from their lives, to come hear you speak. Make sure it's worth it. It's a big responsibility. First, we all understand this. Obviously, you should talk about things you know. Of course, we know this. I would extend this to say, speak from experience. The devil is in the details. It's not enough to read about a topic. Experience it, do it, build it, then talk about it. Then you can talk about it in a much more intelligent way. I would further add that you should talk about things that you're passionate about, things that you love. You see, enthusiasm is difficult to fake. So talk about things that excite you. Your audience will often mirror how you're feeling and how you're acting. If your energy is up, the audience will go. When your energy is low, the audience will have low energy, right? So furthermore, try not to fake this. Be authentic. You see, when you fake it, you're lying to the audience. That's disrespect. Breaks our first rule, right? So be authentic, be yourself, speak from experience, and talk about things that you truly care about. It's difficult to remember facts. A common method for remembering facts is to combine them into a story, into a narrative. Then you can play back the story and retrieve the facts. When you speak from experience, you have examples from your own life that you can talk about. Stories are memorable. Stories begin conversations. Many of you still remember stories that you were told when you were children, perhaps by your grandmother. Stories are memorable. Tell a story. Know your audience. This is very important. Whenever you're thinking about preparing a presentation, it's important you understand who you're preparing the presentation for. You see, the way you would speak to an audience full of children is very different from the way you would speak to an audience full of adults, right? So it's important to customize your talk to them. Furthermore, remember this. It's not enough to just tell people things you know. That's not how it works. You have to package the ideas that you're trying to deliver in a way that it fits with the existing understanding of your audience. Many of you have had teachers, I know I have, that were brilliant people. But while listening to them speak, I couldn't understand anything, right? Remember, it's not enough to know things. You have to know things. You have to know how to deliver these things to the audience. Second, this is very important, especially for those who are teaching technical details. Never begin with detail. Detail is not, it's something that should come later. Always begin with context. Now, what is context? Context is the extra information that you're adding that will build a bridge from what the audience already knows to the new information that you're about to deliver. It's the envelope that you're wrapping your information with that you will use to deliver the information to the audience. Context is also used to excite people. Explain why you're teaching them this new material so that they are motivated to listen to you, so that they're motivated to put in the extra effort to try to understand this new information that you're about to deliver. So, know your audience, customize your speech to them, and always provide context. Einstein has many amazing speech quotes. This is my favorite one. Everything should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. Remember, your job as a speaker is to condense and distill the information so that there's no extra fluff. Just keep exactly what is necessary to deliver your message. But at the same time, be careful. Don't distill and compress things so much and omit things so much that it becomes useless, right? Make sure that your information has enough substance, that it's worthy of the audience. It's worthy of the audience's time. Again, respecting the audience. So, keep things simple. Many of you have had the experience where you were in a classroom or in an auditorium where a speaker or a teacher was talking about something and you couldn't understand what they were saying. Then, after the talk, after the class, you would ask your friends and they could explain that information to you in like 5 minutes. How many people have had this experience? Yeah, most of you, right? All of us have been to school where we didn't understand what the teacher said, our friends explained it in their place. Why is that? Because other students were speaking your language. They understood what you're thinking, and they were better able to connect the ideas, these new ideas that were being taught, to what you already know. Same thing here. So the best teachers are not just the ones that know the information, that have the depth of knowledge. That's not enough. The best teacher are the ones who are able to understand what you're thinking and deliver the information in a way that it fits, in a way that it's understandable by the audience. Keep it simple, but no simpler. Daniel Patrick Moynihan has a great quote. This is very important. You're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. Be careful about the statements and the claims that you make. Do not confuse opinion with fact. You may state opinion, your subjective opinion on stage. It's reasonable, but make it clear that that's the case. Do not pass it off as fact. Here's the test. Here's how you know the difference. Facts can be proven or disproven with evidence. They don't rely on how you're feeling. They don't rely on any of your beliefs. Facts are true whether you believe in them or not. Opinion do not follow that. Opinions are subjective and cannot be backed or disproven by evidence. So make the difference clear. I don't recommend that you write a script when preparing for your talk. This is for a few reasons. First of all, we speak differently from the way we write. So if you write a script and then you recite it on stage, it's going to sound weird. That's one. Two, it's difficult to memorize a script for the entire thing. You can easily forget along the way. What do people do? Well, I've seen people have notes on stage. Now, here's the thing. Remember how I told you everyone gets nervous? Everyone is nervous. And when you're on stage, it's normal to have a little bit of a shake. Now, imagine holding the paper and shaking at the same time. First, it's more visible that you're nervous, right? The audience can see this. Second, makes it a lot harder to read, doesn't it? Add to that the fact that you're also nervous and you're shaking and you're trying to read the text. It doesn't work. Also, again, when you read something or when you recite something, it can sound a bit mechanical. Instead of doing this, here's what I recommend. Once you've organized your ideas into slides, for each slide, have a few bullet points, a few ideas that you want to talk about, a few key ideas. But the actual words that you're going to use to discuss each one of these ideas should be left free. However, I do recommend that you practice talking about these ideas. You see, once you've practiced a few times, you begin to kind of understand the wording and the structure that you're going to use on stage, right? So that will make it a lot easier to perform when you're on stage stressed. Do not put too many words on your slide. First of all, most people are lazy. They won't read the slide. So why are you putting all this extra text on the slide? Are you reading the slide? Yeah. Okay, second, which is the worst situation, is that people do read your slide. Because you see, if people are reading the slide, they're paying attention to the slide and not to you. In which case, they're just waiting for you to finish and shut up and change so they can read the next slide. Remember that slides are there to help you speak. They're not there to replace you, right? So only put on the slide the minimum amount. I personally prefer to put the main idea on the slide and then I fill in the rest. Obviously, it's different if you're giving a technical talk where you have to add some code or things like that. But again, keep it to a minimum. Keep it as simple as possible, but no simpler. When you do put text on slides, make sure it's readable. Make sure there's enough contrast, and make sure that the font is large enough that the audience can read it. Again, otherwise, what's the point? Learn to use the equipment that you're going to be using on stage. This is actually kind of important. You see, in ancient Greece, when people would speak, all they had to do was rely on their voice. They would just stand there and speak. Today, we have all this technology. We have lighting, we have these clickers, and we have slides, and we have a microphone. Learn to use the tools that you're going to be using on stage. Very often, you'll see that people shake as they talk, or they will turn their heads, and you see this kind of behavior. It's difficult to keep a microphone stationary when you're speaking. It's something that requires practice. If you know you're going to be using a microphone, practice using a microphone. Smile. When you're talking about something that you're excited about, something that you really care about, it's only human to smile, right? Now, if you don't smile, and by the way, not all talks obviously deserve a smile. Some talks are much more serious or deep or sad. In general, though, much of what you guys will be talking about is things that you care about, things that you're excited about, so smile. If you don't smile, either you're hiding it, which means you're not being authentic, disrespect, you're lying to the audience, or you're not smiling because you actually don't care. And if you don't care, the audience won't care, right? Remember, the audience mirrors the speaker. So, you love what you're talking about, you love what you do, smile. Pass it on. When you do speak, try to speak clearly, simply, slowly, and loudly. By loudly, I don't mean yell. No. But at the same time, project your voice. People have to hear you in order to get the message. This is very important. Speak slowly. Speak slower than you think you should. By the way, this is a problem I've always had as a speaker, because when I get excited, I want to talk about things and I start talking really fast and bring it down. Speak slowly. Slower than you think you should. Speak simply. You don't have to use big, complicated words. Don't try to look smart by speaking all complicated and using terminology that nobody knows. Keep things simple as possible. Look smart by the content of the message you're trying to deliver, not the fancy words you use. Speak clearly. Speak clearly. When we speak quickly, especially when we're nervous, we will often have filler words in between. We talk like this because do you know what I mean when we you've seen this. This comes from being nervous, from trying to speak quickly and trying to fill every gap with a sound. Remember this. It's okay to pause. It's okay to not speak. See? Right. So, slow down your speech. And if you feel that there's a piece missing, don't just stop talking and think and continue. By the way, a pause can also be used to build up to an idea. You see, if you have something important to deliver, what you can do is build up to it by stopping and then delivering the message, right? Because now the audience is waiting for that. What is he going to say, right? It's building up, and then you deliver it at the end. So there is no substitute for practice. It's not enough to read. It's not enough to know. It's not enough to experience. You have to practice speaking. I talk to myself all the time. I've given this talk in the bathroom, in my car, and every time I've given the talk, by the way, the talk has been different. I've used different words, but every time I've given the talk, every time I've heard myself speak, I've changed it and modified it and improved it and polished it. There's always room for more. You can always get better, right? But really put in the time and practice. When you speak on stage, it should not be the first time you've talked about what you're talking about. It should not be the second. It should not be the third. You get where I'm going with this. Make sure you practice. Put in the time. Make sure the time is worth the effort that the audience is putting in to come and hear you speak. It's incredibly difficult to capture the attention of an audience. It requires a lot of effort. When you do capture it, do not let go. Do not lose eye contact. This is the easiest way to lose an audience. When you look down at your notes, or you turn around or read your slides, by the way, I've seen this. People will put their notes on the slide and then turn around and start reading their slides. Don't do that. Always maintain focus. Always maintain the connection with the audience, especially if it's a larger audience, right? Now, obviously, if you're teaching, let's say, mathematics to a smaller group, like a classroom, it makes sense. You turn around, you write equations. I get that. But in general, if you're speaking to an audience like this, especially to a larger audience, it's very easy to lose people and have them start going into their phones. Maintain that connection. It's very important. Q&A. Not that we're not doing Q&A. I'm talking about Q&A. Q&A, question and answer. This is very important. I think a lot of people get this wrong, though. The purpose of question and answer is not for an individual to ask you a question. It's for the audience to give you ideas to continue your discussion. Remember that when you receive a question, your job is not to answer that one person, the one question they had. Remember, there are other people in the audience. When answering a question, make sure, first of all, to generalize the question. The question has to be applicable to the audience, not the individual. When possible, if they do ask a question that's very specific to them, try to generalize it and then speak to the audience. When a question is asked that cannot be generalized, when a question is asked that is very specific to one individual, don't answer the question. You are wasting everybody's time. Instead, be polite and say, great question. Come up to me after. I'd love to talk to you about it. Right? Let's do this offline. Furthermore, when a question is asked, make sure that the other audience members can hear the question. If there's a microphone, great, everyone hears it. In case where there isn't, repeat the question so that everyone understands what is being discussed. And again, when answering the question, answer the question. Again, remember, you're not answering the question. You're talking about a topic that's been raised to the whole group. Also, when speaking with the group, do not focus on one place. Remember that there are other audience members. Try to move around. Now, I've seen people do this, where they will almost like robotically sort of scan up and down. I use a slightly different method. what I do is I have kind of zones, right? So I have this zone, that zone, kind of the middle, the left, the lower left, right? These are the zones. And what I do is I will skip around from zone to zone to zone, right? That way, all the members of the audience are connected to me, not just one. We all know how to start a talk. You get up there, you start talking. And of course, ideally, you begin with context, right? You don't dive directly into the facts. This we've discussed. What a lot of people miss is the finish. Make the finish clear. Recently, I was at a talk at a school where there were some presenters presenting some information about the school, not important. The point is, at some point, the presenter received a question. They answered the question. Then there was a response from the person who answered it. And then suddenly they just began talking quietly. And everyone else in the classroom was sort of looking at each other like, so do we go? Do we stay? What's happening, right? As a presenter, it's your responsibility to make it clear. We're starting, go. Or it's over, thank you very much. I recommend you record yourself speaking for two reasons. First, it allows you the opportunity to watch yourself speak. This is really important because then you can identify ways that you can improve moving forward, right? I think that makes sense. There's actually a second reason. Many speaking engagements, conferences, for example. I'm a co-organizer of JSConf. It's a technical conference. It's actually coming up October 25th. I very much hope you guys can make it. When speakers apply to speak, one of the things that we ask them to do is to provide links to previous talks. It makes sense. How else will I know if they know how to speak or not, right? So when you record yourself speak, not only do you have a mechanism that you can go back and review how you spoke and improve yourself, you'll also have evidence of your talks that you can then share moving forward, right? It will help you immensely in your career. When you do give a talk, that's supposed to be me. Okay. When you do give a talk, make sure people know about it. If you put in the right amount of effort and you feel like you're saying something that really matters, that's really going to be helpful, make sure people know about it. Post on your social media, tell your friends. I've had a lot of people, my friends, who have given talks, I didn't even know they did this. And then when I asked them, bro, like, why didn't you let me know? I would love to come watch. Their answer was, well, the organizers posted. The organizers, I don't follow the organizers. I follow you. I care about you. I respect you. I want to come to your talk. So when you're giving a talk and you've put in the work, I highly recommend tell people about it. Remember this one fundamental thing, and this is applicable in all levels and regarding everything you do. It's not good enough to be good at what you do. I'm a great programmer. It's not enough. People have to know that you're good. They have to know that you're good so they know to collaborate with you when the time comes. They have to know who to call when the right project comes along. They have to know to contact you when there's a conference because they know that you're a great speaker and they know that you care about and respect the audience, right? So remember, it's not enough to be good. Make sure people know you're good. Do a bit of marketing, basically. One of the best ways to improve public speaking is to watch the masters. YouTube is full of fantastic speeches. Watch how these people deliver their messages and try to learn from them. All of you have a voice, and your voice can change people's minds. Share your experiences, share your passion, and always respect the audience. Thank you so much.